Welcome to my channel. This happened to me about 3 years ago, while I was driving a truck for a living. I was parked at a truck stop just outside of the city limits of Lordsburg, New Mexico. It's a small desert town, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it was about 11:45 p.m. I had just climbed into the sleeper cab behind my driver's seat. Locked both doors, pulled the curtain shut, the one you pull across from the inside that keeps people from being able to see in. And I drifted off to sleep. At exactly 3:17 a.m., I woke up suddenly, not to a sound, not to a dream, but to a feeling like someone was in the cab with me. I didn't move. I froze. I listened. And my breath caught in my chest, because I heard the very soft sound of breathing right behind the curtain. That separates the two parts of the cab. I reached slowly under my pillow, because I always keep a wrench back there just in case. Some drunk guy in the middle of the night wants to bust out my window and I need to defend myself. So I grabbed the wrench, which is about the size of like a small baseball bat. I yanked the curtain aside and I hollered, "Get out of here," as loud as I could, hoping to God that whoever was back there would be scared and run away. But there was no one there. Now I gotta tell you, the whole cab had instantly turned ice cold. Like the temperature had dropped about 20 degrees in a matter of seconds. I looked at the dashboard clock and the power was out. The truck had lost electricity for just a split second, and I turned on the interior light to look around, and that's when I saw it. Scratched into the inside of the passenger door was something that looked like writing, like someone had used a key or a knife and made these marks. And when I shone the light on it, it said, "Next time, don't lock me out." Well, needless to say, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Drove straight through until sunrise, which for anyone who's ever driven a truck long haul is not a good thing because you need your sleep. But adrenaline will keep you awake, and I was wide awake. I stopped at the next truck stop, which wasn't too far away, and I got out and checked the back of the cab again, just in case. But there was nothing there. No sign that anybody had ever been there. And the scratching, well, it looked like it had been done with a key. Someone had taken a key and literally scratched it into the door. And now every time I get in my truck, I check that door first thing to make sure that it hasn't happened again. But I never, ever sleep without a weapon in hand anymore. Yeah, well, let's see if we can find out who did this and why, why they did it, why they left that message. Oh yeah, there's a lot of truck stops along the route that I travel. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. So unless somebody saw that writing and then went to the next truck stop, maybe even the same truck stop, and did it to another truck, which is possible. I mean, anything's possible, But I doubt that it's happened again. I really do hope that it hasn't. Yeah, I think that would freak a person out if that happened, especially if they were alone and they were sleeping and they woke up to that. Yeah, that's creepy. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to watch another video, just click on the video right there. This happened back in 2006. I was hauling a double load through Nevada on a route called the loneliest road in America, and the name didn't disappoint. Just miles of empty desert, no towns for hours, nothing but sagebrush, tumbleweeds, and truck stops that smelled like diesel and regret. To make things worse, I was running solo. A regular partner had called in sick that day, so I had to run long and hard to get my 2 trailers where they needed to go. But hey, it was another Tuesday, so I cranked the country on the CB radio and headed out to the loneliest road in America. Now, I don't usually listen to the CB. Most of the time, it's just static or truckers talking about truck stuff. But sometimes you might pick up a trucker in distress, someone asking for help, and if you're close enough, you try to assist them. If you're far away, you offer encouragement. But either way, it's part of the brotherhood of truckers. So I had the CB radio on channel 19, just static most of the night. But around 1:10 a.m., I started hearing a voice. It was weak, distant, cutting in and out, almost like the guy was transmitting from a cell phone. Which back then wasn't a good idea because cell reception out there is spotty at best. And then he said, "Breaker, breaker. Can anyone hear me? Over?" Now I know that a lot of times when truckers are trying to get someone's attention, they'll say breaker, breaker, which is kind of old school. But it works, it gets your attention. So when I heard it, I came out of my little reverie and said, "Copy that. This is Red Hawk 97. You okay out there?" That was the handle that I used, Red Hawk 97. Is that good? I named it after a junkyard dog, because I'm a junkyard dog. Silence. Then I heard him again. this time closer. And he said, "They took my partner. I'm locked in my cab. Please, if anyone's near exit 103, please call State Patrol." I repeat, if anyone is near exit 103, call the police. He left my partner on the ground. I don't know if he's alive. Please hurry. Please. The transmission cut and I heard him scramble around in the background. I floored it and got behind the wheel. I didn't know where he was, but I knew I had to hurry, so I sped up, eyes scanning the shoulder for lights. I could see the exit sign. It was coming up fast. I held my breath, and then there it was. A rig pulled over, flashers on, driver's side door open. I slowed down and pulled behind it, and I grabbed my flashlight, and I went around to the back of the trailer. I wasn't sure if this was going to be a robbery or something more sinister, but I figured if he was in trouble, I owed it to him to at least check. As I was jogging around the back of the trailer, I hollered out, "You all right in there?" No answer. That was strange. I mean, if someone was trapped in their cab, they'd probably yell, right? Well, maybe they were injured and couldn't. Either way, I wasn't going to stand around wondering. I scrambled up to the cab. It was empty. No one in the driver's seat. No one in the sleeper. I looked around. The engine still running, the CB mic dangling, swinging gently like it had just been used. And that's when I saw the camera on the dash. I hope that thing didn't have a memory card. I want that footage to get out. Next, I noticed a silver-colored Polaroid camera on the passenger seat. The flash was popped up, indicating that it had recently been used. Next to it was a stack of pictures, all face down. I felt bad, but I flipped them over. The first 4 were selfies. 2 of the driver, 1 of his dog, and another of a sunset. But the last one stopped me cold. It showed a man tied up in a sleeper cab, mouth gagged with duct tape, had a wild look in his eyes, like he had just seen a ghost or something worse. Then I saw the writing. It was scrunched up in the corner. "Too late, Red Hawk. I damn near jumped out of my skin. How do you know my handle? What was he trying to tell me? Had he known that I'd found the picture? Was this a trap?" Adrenaline pumping, I floored it to the next way station. A couple miles up the road, I called State Patrol and told them what I'd found. But when they ran the plates, it came back clean. No one in the system matched the description of the rig or its driver. And as I watched the troopers drive past the abandoned truck stop, I wondered, who was that driver? What had happened to him? Or was he still stuck in whatever nightmare that cab had become? For weeks afterward, I kept driving past that lonely truck stop, half expecting to see his ghost hitchhiking on the side of the road, but he never showed up. I called dispatch every now and then to see if they'd caught him, but no such luck. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. Yeah, some people think life on the road is peaceful. It's out here on the loneliest road in America, though. You start to see the things no one talks about. Ghosts and disappearances and whispers through the sea being that were never meant to be heard. If you ever pass a lonely rig parked on the side of the highway, don't stop. Don't stare. Whatever you do, don't answer the radio. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and watch one of these next videos. Have a safe trip. Signing off. Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a series of terrifying tales from truck drivers. That's right. Today's video is all about scary stories that happened while driving a big rig. Let's get into it. With story no. 1. The woman on Highway 41. I've been a long-haul trucker for almost 15 years. I've seen everything. Deer collisions, flipped rigs, blizzards, but nothing haunts me like what I saw in 2014 on Highway 41 through Wisconsin. It was around 2:30 a.m. I was hauling steel coils. It's dead tired, but pushing through the last stretch before hitting a rest area. As I came around a slight curve, out of nowhere I saw a woman standing on the shoulder. She was in a long white dress, soaked from the rain, pale as bone. Dot! She wasn't waving, not even looking at traffic, just standing there, facing the woods. I admit it, I slammed on the brakes and hit the slow low. A note to myself. It freaked me out. I slowed down and radioed in, "Any other drivers see a woman near mile marker 162? Looks like she needs help." No response. I knew the other truckers were probably sleeping since it was the middle of the night. Still, I waited a moment just in case someone else had seen her. But when no one responded again, I drove into the rest area 5 minutes later and told the only other trucker I could find. He froze. "Oh, you saw her too?" he asked, his voice shaking. Turns out he'd seen her years before. Same place, same time of night, same blank stare. He said it was best to just keep driving and not give it another thought. The woman had been gone for years, but every so often truckers reported seeing her just standing there. It didn't help that the spot was infamous among truckers. You see, that stretch of road was where a local woman had disappeared in the 80s. After her car broke down during a storm, her body was never found. The case went cold, leaving many questions and some very scared truck drivers. Every once in a while, someone would report seeing the ghost of the woman standing by the side of the road, waiting for a ride that would never come. The hitchhiking ghost, as they called her, was always seen around 2:30 a.m., just like me. Some said she was trying to get to the rest stop to call for help, while others claimed she was seeking a ride to the next town over. But whatever her motive, she was never seen during the day and was always dressed in a long white dress, no matter the weather. The locals believed that the spirit of the hitchhiker was forever bound to the road, doomed to wander its lonely stretch in search of assistance she would never receive. For those who had seen her, the experience was both eerie and unsettling. The sudden appearance of a ghostly figure on an otherwise deserted highway was enough to send shivers down any trucker's spine. The knowledge that the hitchhiker's story had a tragic ending only added to the fear. After hearing the story from the other trucker, I felt a chill run down my spine. It was one thing to witness the strange and unexplained, but it was another to know that the woman I had seen was tied to such a dark past. I decided to change my route, even though it meant a longer drive. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me as I drove away from the rest stop. And as I looked back, I saw a woman standing by the side of the road, her white dress flowing in the wind, her face pale and lifeless. As the miles passed, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd ever see her again. Would she appear on another deserted stretch of highway or haunt my dreams? I hoped it would stay on the road, but the fear of encountering her again lingered in the back of my mind. One night a few months later, as I was driving through Wisconsin, I couldn't believe my eyes. She was again, standing on the shoulder of the road, her white dress billowing in the wind, her face pale and haunting. My heart raced as I slammed on the brakes and veered off the road. I couldn't believe that I'd seen her again, and I couldn't understand why she was still there. I got out of my truck and walked over to her, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. As I approached, I could see that she was made of solid light, and the closer I got, the brighter she became. Suddenly, she turned to me and smiled. Her face was radiant and beautiful, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and love wash over me. Without saying a word, she led me to my truck, and as I got in, she disappeared. I don't know what happened after that, but I do know that I haven't seen her again. Sometimes I think about her and wonder if she's finally found peace. If I ever see her again, I won't be afraid. Instead, I'll run to her and embrace her because I know that she's just trying to find her way home. And now for number 2, rest stop run-in. This happened to a friend of mine who was starting out as a new truck driver. My buddy Steve had been on the road for about 2 weeks when this happened. He was driving a tanker truck at the time and was solo. He was driving through Arkansas late at night and decided to pull into a truck stop for some food. He parked the truck and went inside the store and pretty much had the place to himself. There were a few other truckers there, but nobody else was inside the store. Steve goes to the counter and notices a pair of eyes staring at him from the magazine rack. When he turns to look, he sees a young girl staring directly at him. Steve figured she was probably just a runaway or something and yelled at her to get out of the store. The girl just stood there with a creepy smile on her face and continued to stare at him. He tried to ignore her and get his food, but she kept coming closer. Steve started to feel uneasy and decided to leave without getting anything. He went back outside to his truck and got in. Then he noticed the girl standing at the window of the truck. She was still smiling that creepy smile. He put the truck in reverse and backed out of his parking spot. As he did, he noticed that she was the only car in the lot, and all the other trucks were parked in rows. There was no way she had been sitting in one of those trucks the whole time. Shook it off and continued on his route. About 3 hours later, he stopped for gas, and as he went inside to pay, he noticed the same girl sitting in the same spot by the magazine rack. She was still smiling that creepy smile. What are the odds, right? Steve decided to play it cool and struck up a conversation with her. Asked her how she was doing and how old she was. She responded in a raspy voice and told him she was 9 years old. Steve was taken aback and tried to change the subject, but she kept talking about how she liked his shoes and his truck. Suddenly, she stood up and walked towards the door. Steve followed her out of the store and watched as she walked away from the truck stop and disappeared into the darkness. He felt a sense of relief knowing that he was safe inside the store, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He paid for his gas and returned to his truck, where he continued on his journey. Many years later, Steve decided to research the truck stop and the girl he had met. He wanted to know if anyone else had seen her, and if there were any reports of missing children in the area. What he found was disturbing. The truck stop had been the site of several strange occurrences, including the disappearance of a young girl who matched the description of the girl Steve had met. The police had never found the girl, and the case had gone cold. Steve was shaken by his discovery, and he began to question whether he had really seen a ghost or simply a troubled child who had wandered away from home. Didn't have an answer. But the encounter left him with a sense of unease that he could never shake. And that's all for today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more,